Judge humiliates teen in courtroom, then finds out he's facing a trained attorney. He was just a teenager, nervous, quiet, and barely old enough to sit in a courtroom. Yet from the moment he stepped inside, the whispers began, and the judge's smirk said it all. He didn't belong here. Mocked for his age, judged for his appearance, dismissed before he even spoke. But what no one in that room realized was that this boy carried a truth powerful enough to change everything. What happens when the one everyone looks down on is the one they should fear the most? Subscribe and like for join our community. It started like any other morning in a quiet suburban town. The courthouse was buzzing with routine cases, traffic fines, minor disputes, the kind of proceedings most people forget the moment they leave. But for one teenager, this was no ordinary day. His name was Marcus, just 17 years old, and walking into that courtroom felt like stepping into another world. Marcus wasn't a troublemaker. He was quiet, thoughtful, the kind of kid who carried himself with more maturity than his age suggested. But still, people rarely looked past what they first saw: his youth, his skin color, his simple clothes. To them, he was just another kid in the wrong place at the wrong time. What they didn't know was how hard he had worked to even reach this moment, how much he had studied and prepared, how determined he was to prove he belonged. As Marcus sat down, he felt the weight of eyes on him. The shuffle of papers, the murmurs from the gallery, even the judge's glance carried judgment. It wasn't curiosity, it was dismissal, the kind of look that said, "You're not worth my time." But Marcus stayed calm. He had been underestimated his whole life, and today would be no different, except for one crucial detail. This wasn't just another courtroom appearance. Hidden beneath his nervous expression was a truth no one expected, a truth that would soon turn every smirk into silence. The moment Marcus stood before the bench, the courtroom shifted. Papers rustled, muffled laughter broke out in the back, and the judge leaned forward, squinting as though Marcus didn't belong within those walls. The heavy silence carried judgment louder than any words. From the very start, it was clear. He wasn't being treated like everyone else. When older defendants spoke, they were given patience, even respect. But when Marcus opened his mouth, the interruptions came fast. His words were cut off, his explanations waved away with a dismissive hand. The judge smirked, asking questions that had little to do with the case and everything to do with belittling him. Each remark stung deeper. "Do you even understand why you're here?" The question hung heavy, dripping with condescension. Marcus nodded quietly, but inside, his chest burned. He had studied harder than most people twice his age, prepared himself for every possible detail, yet here he was, mocked like a child who had wandered into the wrong room. The audience wasn't much better. A few whispered, some chuckled under their breath. To them, Marcus wasn't a threat, not even a participant, just a boy out of place, a spectacle to watch. But beneath the humiliation was a sharp, steady determination. Marcus wasn't here by accident. Every insult, every dismissal was proof of the uphill battle he had faced his entire life. And while the judge saw weakness, Marcus carried something no one in that room suspected, knowledge powerful enough to shift the balance. Still, the tension grew. Each minute stretched longer, each word from the bench felt heavier. Marcus's hands tightened against the table, his knuckles pale from the grip. He remembered every moment of being underestimated. Teachers doubting him, strangers watching, him with suspicion, neighbors assuming he would fail before he had even begun. This wasn't new. It was the same old story, just dressed in courtroom robes. And yet that sameness was exactly why Marcus refused to back down. As the judge leaned, back with a mocking laugh, dismissing Marcus's attempt to explain, the air in the room seemed to freeze. Everyone thought the humiliation was over, that Marcus had nothing left to say. But what they didn't know, what no one realized, was that this was only the beginning. Marcus had been patient long enough, and the truth he was about to reveal would shatter every assumption, every smirk, every whisper that filled that courtroom. The judge leaned back, chuckling as if Marcus's presence was a joke, his gavel tapping impatiently. The gallery echoed with scattered laughter, the sound cutting through Marcus like glass. For a moment, it seemed like the humiliation was complete. Another young black teen dismissed, another day of prejudice disguised as authority. But then, Marcus rose. His movements were calm, deliberate, but his voice, steady and commanding, cut through the noise. He reached into his bag and laid a thick folder of neatly organized documents on the desk. The courtroom fell silent, the laughter dying mid-breath. "This," Marcus began, his words crisp, "is the case law you missed." The judge's smirk faltered. Page after page revealed citations, precedents, and legal arguments that only a trained mind could assemble. Marcus spoke not with the trembling fear of a child, but with the precision of an attorney who knew exactly where he stood. "If you've ever faced something unfair, drop your story in the comments. Let's make sure your voice is heard." The whispers turned into gasps. Court clerks leaned forward, trying to follow the references he rattled off with ease. The same people who had mocked him minutes ago now sat frozen, watching a teenager dismantle authority right before their eyes. Every second carried weight. Every sentence stripped away the judge's power, replacing it with something undeniable. Truth. Marcus wasn't supposed to know this. He wasn't supposed to belong here. And yet, with each word, he proved he belonged more than anyone else in that room. By the time Marcus finished, the silence was deafening. The judge's gavel rested motionless in his hand, his arrogance shattered. And in that silence, a single thought gripped everyone present. If they had been so wrong about him, what else had they been wrong about all along? The silence in that courtroom spoke louder than any gavel. The boy they had mocked, doubted, and dismissed had stood taller than the very system meant to break him. Marcus didn't need applause, and he didn't wait for validation. He simply gathered his papers, his heart steady, and walked out, leaving behind a room full of faces forever changed. But the truth is, Marcus's story was never just about one boy and one judge. It was about the weight of prejudice that so many carry into every room they enter. It was about how easily brilliance can be overlooked when seen through the lens of bias. And it was about the cost of underestimating someone simply because of the color of their skin or the age on their face. For Marcus, this moment was a turning point. But for the rest of us, it's a mirror. How many other voices have we silenced? With our assumptions? How many doors have we closed before they were even knocked upon? Racism doesn't always scream. Sometimes it smirks. Sometimes it laughs. Sometimes it hides behind the authority of a robe and a gavel. But moments like this remind us, truth has a way of breaking through. Marcus walked out stronger, carrying not just his own victory but a message for everyone watching. Never let the world decide your worth before you've had a chance to prove it. So now the question is yours. When you see injustice, do you look away? Or do you stand long enough to watch the truth rise? If this story touched you, don't just watch. Be part of the change. Hit subscribe and join our community of voices that matter.